announced this morning that I was suing Will for $200 million because that video is going to be there forever. It's going to be ubiquitous.
$200 million. That was the number Jim Carrey said he would have sued Will Smith for after the Oscars slap. Not because he wanted a payout, and not because he held any personal grudge against Smith or Chris Rock, but because that moment revealed something far uglier than a celebrity losing his temper. When Will Smith struck Rock and the room responded with a standing ovation less than an hour later, Carrey watched Hollywood expose its values in real time. Power was protected. Violence was forgiven. Image was prioritized over integrity. To Carrey, that $200 million represented accountability in a culture that had abandoned it. And this wasn't the first time he'd seen it happen. The slap was merely the latest entry in a long pattern of elitism, hypocrisy, and moral cowardice that Carrey had endured throughout his career, beginning decades earlier with a single humiliating sentence from a man he once admired, Tommy Lee Jones. In 1994, Jim Carrey walked onto the set of Batman Forever at the height of his emerging superstardom, carrying 3 consecutive blockbuster successes and a level of public adoration few comedians had ever achieved. But what he discovered on that set would become his first real lesson in Hollywood elitism. Tommy Lee Jones had just won an Academy Award for The Fugitive and had agreed, somewhat reluctantly, to play Two-Face only after his son urged him to take the role. Warner Brothers had originally intended to honor Billy D. Williams' earlier casting as Harvey Dent, but director Joel Schumacher pushed for Jones, and Williams was quietly discarded. To Jones, the production felt beneath his seriousness as an actor, a commercial circus funded by a major studio for the sake of spectacle rather than artistry, and Carrey, with his rubber-faced theatrics and improvisational humor, embodied everything Jones despised about the direction Hollywood was taking. Crew members later recalled that Jones complained about Carrey constantly, calling him unprofessional for improvising jokes and disruptive for cracking up the set between takes, and the tension finally broke in a restaurant in Burbank when Carrey approached him after a long day of shooting in costume. Carrey described how the blood drained from Jones's face before the older actor stood, trembling with barely contained irritation, embraced him stiffly, and delivered a line that would follow Carrey for decades, "I hate you. I really don't like you." Days later, before a pivotal scene between their characters, Jones offered a second blow, telling Carrey, "I cannot sanction your buffoonery," a sentence loaded with condescension and delivered like a verdict. Schumacher defended Carrey publicly years later, saying Jones felt threatened by him, and comic Norm Macdonald theorized that Jones resented no longer being the most important man in the room. Whether it was artistic insecurity, professional jealousy, or class prejudice between drama and comedy, Jones demonstrated to Carrey that Hollywood operated on invisible hierarchies, and those at the top guarded their prestige fiercely. For Carrey, the experience wasn't just rude. It marked the moment he realized respect in Hollywood was rationed, measured, and often denied to those who made audiences laugh rather than cry, a revelation that would prepare him for far darker disappointments decades later. Will Smith. When Will Smith slapped Chris Rock during the 2022 Academy Awards, Carrey did not see merely a moment of celebrity rage or a man defending his family. He saw the culmination of everything he had grown to despise about modern Hollywood, where carefully curated public personas masked entitlement, fragility, and a stunning lack of accountability. Carrey had watched Smith's career unfold with admiration for his talent, but skepticism toward the relentless image management that surrounded him, an image of wholesome family virtue and inspirational resilience that had been packaged and sold to the public for decades. The slap shattered that image in seconds, but what disturbed Carrey most was not the violence itself. It was the room's response. 53 minutes after striking a colleague on live television, Smith received a standing ovation as he accepted the award for Best Actor, a gesture Carrey interpreted as a collective moral collapse. "I was sickened," he said, describing Hollywood as spineless en masse, a community more interested in protecting power than upholding integrity. To Carrey, the message was unmistakable. If you are beloved, bankable, or symbolically important, you can assault someone in front of the world and still be celebrated moments later. Carrey went further, saying he would have sued Smith for $200 million because the footage would live forever, not as petty revenge but as a statement that consequences should not evaporate in the presence of prestige. While many celebrities attempted to straddle both sides, saying they understood Smith's emotions, Carrey refused to dilute the moment, calling it criminal behavior and insisting that disagreement, even insult, does not justify violence. The Academy's response, which involved delayed statements and vague expressions of concern, only reinforced his belief that Hollywood protected its stars until public pressure forced it not to. The incident crystallized what the restaurant with Jones had hinted at. The industry cared less about principle than optics, and Carrey, no longer willing to perform in that illusion, finally said it outright. The slap was not just a scandal. It was a mirror, and Carrey didn't like what Hollywood's reflection had become. The Kardashians. If Will Smith represented the moral rot of power and Tommy Lee Jones the elitism of legacy, then the Kardashian phenomenon embodied the cultural emptiness that Carrey found even more disturbing, a shift in celebrity from achievement to pure visibility. At a Harper's Bazaar event in 2017 celebrating icons, Carrey gave an interview that instantly went viral, not because he was promoting a film or sharing a quirky anecdote, but because he refused to play along with the very premise of the event. When asked about attending a celebration of icons, Carrey laughed coldly and said it was the lowest aiming possibility, questioning why anyone should be revered for being famous and rejecting the idea of identities forged through branding. "I don't believe in personalities," he said, dismissing the notion that the curated public personas of celebrities were real or meaningful. The Kardashians were never named explicitly in that interview, but they didn't have to be. Carrey had referred to them directly in earlier conversations, calling their rise unhealthy and emblematic of a culture obsessed with fame as a product rather than talent as a pursuit. To Carrey, the Kardashians were the logical extension of the Truman Show nightmare he had once depicted on screen, a world in which millions willingly consumed artificial lives as entertainment, and where the performance of authenticity replaced the search for meaning. Fame was no longer a consequence of contribution, it was the contribution itself. For Carrey, this trend was not merely shallow, he believed it was spiritually corrosive, turning the pursuit of identity into a marketplace and encouraging young people to chase recognition rather than purpose. In his view, Hollywood had become an amplifier for that distortion, rewarding those who mastered self-promotion over those who mastered craft. Shia LaBeouf. If the Kardashians represented fame without substance, Shia LaBeouf represented a newer, darker kind of celebrity entitlement rooted in artistic theft, self-mythologizing, and personal recklessness, and Carrey found himself entangled in that narrative during one of Hollywood's strangest plagiarism scandals. In 2013, acclaimed graphic novelist Daniel Clowes discovered that LaBeouf had adapted his 2007 comic Justin M. Damiano into a short film titled HowardKintur.com without permission, without credit, and with scenes lifted almost word for word. The film had premiered at Cannes the year before, unnoticed as plagiarism until the internet uncovered the source, and the revelation triggered a cascade of similar discoveries. LaBeouf had copied passages from Bukowski, lifted sections from Benoit de Turner, and even plagiarized his public apologies from Yahoo Answers and random blog posts, layering theft upon theft until his public persona resembled performance art gone toxic. When Carrey presented at the Golden Globes shortly after the scandal broke, he delivered a surgical jab. "Dying is easy. Comedy is hard." I believe it was Shia LaBeouf who said that, and the audience roared. LaBeouf responded online with a faux philosophical tweet about Carrey's inscrutability, and then escalated by attacking Carrey's daughter, posting a video of her banned with a caption accusing Carrey of abandoning children and being arrested for public indecency, an attack that drew from recycled tabloid rumors and even appropriated Rupert Murdoch's earlier insults toward Hugh Grant. Hours later, LaBeouf backtracked, apologizing and announcing his departure from public life with a melodramatic phrase, "I'm not famous anymore." But the damage was done. For Carrey, LaBeouf wasn't simply a reckless actor. He represented a generation raised to believe that fame itself was a form of immunity, that plagiarism could be rebranded as collage, and that cruelty could be reframed as authenticity. Unlike Jones or Smith, LaBeouf did not represent elitism or moral cowardice. He represented entitlement without boundaries, celebrity unmoored from accountability, and the notion that notoriety itself was a form of art. Carrey saw in him the acceleration of a cultural decay that had begun long before, one that rewarded chaos as spectacle and treated ethics as expendable. Mark Wahlberg. Not all of Carrey's clashes were dramatic or public. Some revealed themselves through a quieter form of hostility, the weaponized insistence that actors stay in their lane and avoid speaking on controversial issues. That conflict surfaced most clearly with Mark Wahlberg during the height of Carrey's anti-vaccine advocacy, while he was in a relationship with Jenny McCarthy. Wahlberg, asked during an interview about celebrities promoting medical theories, dismissed such activism with a curt declaration that actors should shut up and just act, a statement that did not name Carrey directly, but was understood by the industry and the press as a rebuke aimed squarely at him. To Wahlberg, Carrey represented a form of celebrity overreach, someone leveraging his fame to influence medical debates he was unqualified to discuss, and his criticism played into a long-standing Hollywood rule: support safe causes, avoid dangerous ones, and never risk your marketability by stepping into moral controversy. To Carrey, however, Wahlberg's rebuke carried deeper hypocrisy. Wahlberg's own career had been built on rebellion and volatility, including violent youth convictions and later reinventions as a respected star, and yet he now stood as an enforcer of Hollywood's unspoken laws of conformity. The message beneath his words was not merely stay out of medicine, but protect your brand, avoid backlash, and do not disrupt the illusion that Hollywood's values are unified and sanitized. This confrontation showed Carrey that Hollywood did not merely punish bad behavior. It punished dissent, especially dissent that threatened profitable narratives. Wahlberg became emblematic of a culture in which safety was prized over conviction, and where actors who spoke loudly on controversial issues were characterized not as principled but as irresponsible. For Carrey, this was yet another layer of the system he had come to resent, a culture that celebrated authenticity in marketing copy but demanded silence whenever authenticity carried risk.